So we went over posture before, but it's something that something that we should go over multiple times. I think it's something that we really need to reinforce, maybe monthly, quarterly, whatever, and really focus on the fine details that we're looking for in posture. So today we're going to go over neutral spine and breathing by position. So we kind of went over that before, the supine, quadruped, half kneeling, and standing, like what those positions should look like. But what we want to go over today is looking at the lumbar, the T-spine, and the cervical spine separately in each position, and making sure that while breathing in that position, that posture stays the same. And then we know if they can't breathe in that position, then that's a position we shouldn't train them above. So for example, if someone is in quadruped position, they can't maintain a solid breathing pattern and neutral spine, then we know that we're not going to take them to half kneeling position for any of their exercises yet, because they wouldn't be able to handle that position in their training. So we're going to go over the postures. We're going to go over maintaining neutral spine in those postures while breathing. And then we're going to add movement to each of those postures. So say we get somebody in a good posture, quadruped for example, because that's what we started with, and then we have them extend their arm and now they lose it. They lose their posture or they lose their breathing. That's how we know this is where we train them. So basically what we're going to do is have each one of us kind of go through different postures and positions, throw some breathing in, throw some movement in, see how the posture's altered, see how the breathing's altered, to just try to focus in our eyes on that kind of stuff. Just get better at knowing when someone shouldn't be above that level, and being better at regressing them from certain exercises into these postures and positions to know that's exactly where they should be. So it's not necessarily like following the 4x4 matrix exactly, because we're not having the other side of the 4. But we really need to focus on the left side of the 4x4 matrix in those different positions and making sure that breathing is good in those positions. So we're going to go over supine position, quadruped position, half kneeling position, and standing position. And then we're going to do a dead bug in the supine position, bird dog in the supine or the quadruped position, plank in the quadruped position, Palloff hold in half kneeling. And then we're going to do one leg balance in standing position. And we're just going to make sure that our breathing is good in each one of those positions, and just look at the different postures. And cue perfect neutral posture, and just once again reiterate what perfect neutral posture is. And just know that in this gym, no client ever goes out of perfect neutral posture for any reason. If we were at a powerlifting meet, and someone was getting their 1 rep max to break a record or something like that, and they get a little round in their back coming up, that's fine. But no one here is a power lifter, and no one here is in a meet, and we should never really get that far with someone, especially our fat loss clients and corrective clients, obviously. The corrective clients, the people that are coming from chiropractors and therapists and things like that, neutral posture is exactly what we're trying to train, so we really need to make sure we know that perfectly. So we're just going to kind of touch on that again. All right, so let's go over neutral posture and supine position, which is obviously the easiest position to get someone into good posture, because there's no gravity is helping them as much as possible. They don't have to fight gravity. So let's pull feet into your butt. And then basically from here, his lumbar should be good. We don't want him necessarily flattening his back into the ground in this position. We want to be able to slide the hand to about the knuckle level under there, but not get your whole entire hand under his back. So he's got a nice neutral lumbar curve. We got some rib flare right here, obviously, and that's one of the things that we really look at in supine position, because this is the biggest flaw that you're going to see before being able to bring him up into another position, because there's not a whole lot of flaws you're going to find. You want to make sure his neck is nice and long. There we go. So he's got a natural curve in his C-spine, and he's not, give me a bad C-spine, so there's chin, yeah. So a lot of times people just naturally lay in that position, because when they're standing, that's actually the position that their neck is in. So we want to get them nice and neutral. Corey, take a big deep breath through your nose, and then exhale. And then breathe from here. Keep that down, continue to breathe. Okay, so now he looks pretty good. We got him pretty much in a neutral position. So, if he can maintain this while doing some basic exercises, then we'll train him in this position. Obviously, this is where we have to start everyone, but let's see where we can take him. So, inhale, exhale, push that ribs down, and now extend this leg out straight, and bring it back in. So when Corey extended that leg out, did you see his lumbar spine? He got more lordosis in his spine when he extended that leg out. So let's do it again. He might be able to control it this time. Ribs down, extend that leg. So his stomach got taller on me. It went up an inch, which we know, so his back was here, it went up. We shouldn't really take him out of this position. If we put him in quadruped, we put him in half kneeling, we put him in standing, we're setting him up for failure. So this is where Corey trains. So let's get Dave in here for quadruped. First, Dave, you know what it looks like. Let's see some bad quadruped. Let's see what people typically do. Give me some bad neck. Set up like, you know, and let's see arched and rounded. Okay. So now let's get good. So biggest thing that we're looking for in here, obviously, is a nice flat back. We want his head in line with his body. So somebody grab me a piece of PVC. Those knees are right underneath his hips. Those hands are right underneath his shoulders. Now let's get long arms. There you go. This is nice and flat. Boom. His chin's tucked. He's not in that bad neck posture like we talked about with Corey. So let's go into bad neck posture with the chin forward. Yep. Or that. He's got a nice long neck. So if you do this to someone, it really helps with cueing that long neck. Another thing you can do is just get long. And that really helps them try to get long in that position. So they're not shoulders into the knee, shoulders up in the ears. Yeah. And they're not rounded or arched through here. So what we're looking for is that Dave can breathe in this position. So at this point, we know Dave could breathe in supine position perfectly, fill up his stomach, exhale. There was no compensations. We had him go through some dead bugs. We had him go through some more advanced dead bug variations, maybe leg lowering. And he could maintain good breathing and good neutral posture in supine before we brought him here. So now we're just going to check quadruped. So just inhale through the nose, fill up the stomach. So when he inhales, nothing moves. So a lot of times you'll get somebody in quadruped, and when they inhale, you'll see an altered posture. And so if that happens, we know this is the highest level that we train them. We either know that we skipped ahead too far, we need to get them in supine again, or we do some real low-level exercises here. Obviously they can't breathe in this position, but they nailed supine. This is probably our starting position, and this is where we'll have them start to breathe. Once we can get them breathing good in this position, we'll just start with some basic stuff like arm raise. Good. And go ahead and bring it back down. Go ahead and extend it out again. Good. And then we'll do a hip extension. Keep that. And then we can do both at the same time. And then hold that. And I want you to breathe in this position. Once again, now we have him in a position that's a lot harder to maintain his good neutral posture, and we have him breathe in this position. So if he alters in this position, we bring him back down to just the leg, or we bring him back down to just the arm until he nails that, and then we start to bring him into this exercise. From there, let's just stick with Dave. Let's go half kneeling. Actually, I want to go plank. So, obviously, before we get in, we want to clear the bird dog. We want to clear the breathing on that soft core stuff before we get into the hard bracing core technique. So, plank is definitely one of those techniques. So, let's have Dave get into a plank position. Let me see some bad planks, Dave. What do we typically see? Hips sagging? That's good. Don't hurt yourself, Dave. It's not worth it. Yeah, butt way up in the air, down dog. Let's see, bad neck, obviously same thing. All the same cues remain when it comes to neutral spine. A normal curve in the lumbar, normal curve in the T-spine, and then a nice neutral neck without the head jutted forward or up here. And every exercise needs to have these things. Once again, our trusty friend the PVC, butt back and head, nice long neck, boom. And you should be able to breathe in this position. And we don't want to see that stick move, we don't want to see his butt drop. And this is going to be a little bit harder to maintain a hard brace and breathe. So if someone can't maintain this position and breathe in this position, obviously we don't want them doing push-ups, we don't want them doing, anything with your feet elevated as a suspension trainer, we don't want them doing mountain climbers, we don't want them doing anything beyond this position until they own it. And I'm not saying they have to own the breath the entire exercise. I say they're doing mountain climbers. Say they're doing mountain climbers.
Forget about me.
We know, yeah, I totally forgot about you. We know they're not going to have perfect diaphragmatic breathing the entire set, but any time in the middle of that set, you should be able to stop them, and they should be able to take the breath and maintain neutral posture. So, if they can't plank a good position, what are some good exercises that we can do? How can we drop that down?
Back to the quadruped.
Back to the quadruped. Which is the best way to go, is back down to quadruped, make sure they own that before bringing them in here. Say they own it, and we want to go step one into the plank. What would be a good intro into plank?
Elevated.
Elevated, so hands up like maybe a tire plank. So this is a lot easier to hold this position. Let's get the head back, chin down. Perfect, and we'll have him breathe here. Now I want you to lift one knee up to here and breathe there. So this is a good check. Make sure he's got this in this position. It's not like you have to sit around and just check their breathing in every position before you train him, but as you're training him, just take a check, take a little pause and say, hey, hold this, breathe in this position, let me look at it real quick. And if it's jacked up, bring him down, and if it's good, keep training. So that's a good one. Half kneeling. So we went over half kneeling position a couple times. We're going to do it again. We want the knee right underneath the hip. His head's in line with that bottom knee. So straight line from the ear down to the knee here. Straight line from the hip out here. Straight line from the ankle to the knee here. So 90, 90. And this is a perfect 180 with that down knee. When someone's in a bad position, once again we have them lift that foot 3 times. And that gets their weight evenly distributed on that back knee. And then let's check and make sure you can breathe here. And right here is usually when you start to see some serious chest breathing, when they don't have any support. And then if he's good here, like a good exercise would be a pal-off hold. But let's just check him. So let's go. And I'm just going to push in some different directions. I want to make sure he can maintain his breathing. So, breathing. Breathing. So if I start pushing on his hands, and those shoulders go up, and he's doing high threshold techniques, then we know, back down to quadruped, or prone position, and he's good. And a pal-off would be a good beginner exercise there. So, and then we work into different pal-off variations, and then chops and lifts with the cable bar or with the kettlebell or whatever. I mean, what's some other good half-kneeling exercises to... I like the isometric holds on the breathing checks because they're not actually going through range of motion. They're just holding and we're checking the breathing. So that's why I think pal-off is probably the best exercise to just do a breathing check here. Unless anybody can think of some better stuff. Yeah, and just pushing on the hands like that is pretty huge. So, and then last is just going to be standing position. So by the time you get them into standing, they should probably be breathing pretty good by now. It should probably be a pretty smooth transition. So obviously, you just have them in standing position on any of their exercises. You're just checking their breathing and make sure it's good. If you want to do a quick assessment of if they can handle it, we'll just have them do one leg balance and just breathe from there. So now he's, relying more on some hip stability, foot stability and things. If he goes into panic mode, we'll see it in his breathing pattern. But I would say before anyone does any high-level exercises, they should be able to hold a one-leg balance for 10 seconds and take some good breaths without losing their balance. And if you want to get crazy, you can close the eyes, but that has nothing to do with the actual breathing. That's just challenging proprioception. So, and then from there, a good starting exercise, maybe just even standing on one leg or just a two-legged pal off with breathing. And then work into standing chops, and then you can even get him on one leg and have cable bar chops from this position to work that stability if you had a loss of balance. But before we do any of that, we got to make sure the breathing's good in that position. Anything on that?
That was beautiful.
Beautiful.
I like it.
You want to throw anything in there?
I mean, that sums it up. That's good stuff.
Yeah.
So, moral of the story, when someone's doing an exercise, you should be able to stop them in the middle of that exercise, and they should be able to hold perfect posture with a couple big belly breaths. And if they can't, you went too far. And if they can, you know you're in the right place. Cool.